Hi guys, it's Reagan and welcome to the start of another reading vlog. This reading vlog is extra special because I'm going to be checking out two of my most anticipated fall releases and also decorating for fall. So it's going to be all of the cozy fall vibes and I truly feel like it's going to be a spectacular time. So without further ado, let's go ahead and chat about the two books I hope to read over the course of this video. Hi guys, before we dive into the specific TBR for this video, first a word from this video's sponsor, which is EveryPlate. I recently had the opportunity to partner up with EveryPlate's sister brand known as Green Chef, and I really liked it, so I was thrilled to have the opportunity to check out EveryPlate for myself. But if you're not familiar, EveryPlate is a meal delivery service with a focus on providing not only delicious but affordable meals for your family or you as an individual. And they also plan, shop, and deliver all the ingredients you need to cook delicious and affordable recipes. Everything is sent directly to your door, and all of the ingredients are also organized in a way that they are the perfect serving that you need for your recipe. And also cutting down on unnecessary packaging. Honestly, opening the box up feels like a grocery delivery, and I personally love that so much. This summer has been quite busy for me. I love to cook, but I absolutely despise going to the grocery store. And honestly, sometimes thinking of what recipes I want to make for the week is just something I just don't even want to add to my to-do list. Why I love meal kit delivery services like EveryPlate, because they do all of that work for me, just making it such a convenient and tasty option to gain back some time in my life. Plus, the meals themselves are quite affordable and the servings are hearty, oftentimes adding up to be much lower than the groceries I was planning to pick up that week anyway, which we love to see. I also really appreciate EveryPlate because I feel like their recipe lineup are just like home run comforting meals. They're go-to recipes that I feel like would be crowd pleasers to anyone. There's still a large variety to choose from. Just in general, EveryPlate is something that I personally enjoyed quite a bit, and it was also such a convenient and time-saving element to add into my routine. I of course have a very special offer with EveryPlate. To get $1.99 per meal in your first box plus free heat and eat meals for a month, use code PeruseProject199 at everyplate.com or by using the link in my description, and that's one free item per box for 4 weeks for an active subscription. I am truly so excited for this TBR because two of my favorite authors have released such fall reads and we're gonna read them, obviously. First, we have The Bewitching by Silvia Moreno Garcia. This is a multi-generation witch novel. Also one of my favorite authors, known for mixing like horror and fantasy. I feel like this is going to be so good. And then Isabel Cañas came out with a new book for the fall, and this is set in 1765 in the New World. Our main character is the daughter of a wealthy merchant family who runs away and hides in her fiance's silver mine and then gets possessed by a demon. All I know is I feel like these are going to provide all of these spooky vibes I could ever want. Both of them also feel like they could be all new favorite fall reads. So obviously thrilled to be reading these. I'm also excited to finally be decorating because I need to get these storage bins out of my house. I have been procrastinating. I'm ready for the vibe, so let's get it together. Hello, it's time for dinner, and dinner is fast and easy because I made chili yesterday. So today we get to reheat said chili. Love the work I've done previously. All right, friends, I've decided my first book of the vlog is going to be The Bewitching by Silvia Moreno Garcia. It came out first, so it makes sense for me to read it first. So let's get started with that. Hi friends, let's do a reading update. I am also about to start doing some fall decorating, but before we dive into that, I want to let y'all know what I've read of The Bewitching so far by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I've read 75 pages, and so far this book has very much intrigued me. The setup is one I tend to enjoy, like multi-generational, multiple threads through time, following different women and their connection to witchcraft, and likely there's going to be somehow some interconnectedness. What that is, what that looks like, clearly I don't know yet, but I have been introduced to the three women so far. I find the atmosphere to be eerie and interesting, which again is like the fall vibe I personally really enjoy. But let's take a step back. So I'd say our main character and our main POV is Minerva. She's currently attending this very prestigious East Coast university, and there she's working on her thesis, which specifically is looking at the horror genre at like the turn of the century, with a focus on this one author who she personally feels a great affinity to her work, but she has kind of a secretive background and she hasn't released like a lot of her work, and her most great work, for example, has never been released. It's also tied to a missing person case which happened on the literal campus that our main character Minerva is currently studying on. So like there's a clear connection there. We also though are introduced to Minerva's great grandmother Alba, and we follow her living in this farm. Her father has passed away and her uncle has just moved in with her family, and there's conflict about what to do with the farm and like what the direction of the family should be from here. Alba is young and fierce and likely a little bit naive, and her uncle is an uncomfortable presence is what I'll say, and I'm not quite sure like how that's all going to play out. And then the last point of view character we follow is this author that Minerva is following as, again, a young woman as she's attending this university, and again, her connection to this missing person case for one of her friends. 3 women, 3 different generations, somehow all tied into witchcraft. How they're tied together and the witchcraft element, I don't know. But I definitely always love Silvia Moreno Garcia's writing style. I always find it to be really intriguing. And then also, I think the multiple perspectives is making it a very propelling read because we're jumping in so many different directions. It keeps each story feeling fresh and not too prolonged. And the atmosphere is consistent throughout, which I also think is interesting. Obviously, 2 of the 3 settings are kind of in the same place, which is set in Massachusetts, which obviously has a big tie into like the history of witchcraft, but our other perspective is in Mexico. But it all feels like it's very much working together so far anyway. So 75 pages in, for sure gonna read more, really liking what I'm reading at this point, and I'm excited to get more pages read later on today, so cheers to that. Alrighty, the first room we're gonna decorate is the library room, starting with this mantle here behind me. So let's go ahead and get all of my pieces put into place, basically all of my pumpkins. Break to have a massive bowl of miso soup. Currently making dinner, but obviously this little section has been decorated fall now for a while. Yes, I'm already in PJs, but let's go ahead and do the other part of the kitchen. Dinner is a little Costco pre-made meal, which I added some broccoli to, had some kimchi, some rice. I'm gonna go watch Australian Survivor now. Good morning, everyone. I'm up, I'm Adam, and I'm gonna get some reading in. I actually stayed up decently late last night reading. It is quite engaging, but I also won't lie, I got scared, and nothing even particularly super scary happened, but like the vibes were not good. And I was like, not good, but like in a good way, not good, you know? And I was like, oh, I'm scared. I'm such a chicken. Some would say this is impractical, but I wanted to have my cute fall stuff on a lower shelf, so I put my coffee stuff on a shelf I cannot reach, so every day I must grab a stool. I have no regrets about it. Ready while the coffee brews. Let's go sit and read with Matilda. Matilda personally is having a good morning so far. She's already had brekkie. And let's turn on our fall ambiance. Much better. I love these like battery operated flickering candles. They're one of my favorite decor ads. And my Slovenian family orange critter that lives there. And I didn't even realize it was going to rain today, but what perfect reading ambiance. Hello, good morning. The caffeine has kicked in a little bit. I've even pinned back my bangs for extra concentration powers, but I want to do a reading update of The Bewitching. Just talk about a detail that I'm personally really enjoying. So obviously I've talked a lot about how this book is 3 distinct storylines following 3 women from 3 different time periods, and how their storylines fully are going to link together is unclear to me, but there's definitely a bit of paralleling going on between 2 of the characters, which I'm really liking. Obviously, I've said that I think the main character is Minerva, which is our more present day character, though her storyline takes place in the late 90s, which I love vibe-wise. And she is obviously an academic and she's researching. And as she is researching more into Betty's storyline, which is the middle storyline, she begins to have these like supernatural experiences that she can't really explain, and they're really, really creepy. This, I feel like, is very much parallel to her great-grandmother's story, which we're getting like separately. Like Betty and Minerva's are like clearly connected because Minerva is reading about Betty, but Alba's story almost feels like this third story, and how that's going to tie in, I don't know. But also Alba is experiencing something very similar to Minerva, and it's some sort of like supernatural haunting, and it's like very disturbing. The settings of this book I think are also quite smart. We have this Massachusetts old college campus where a lot of the students are currently there because it's summertime, it's creepy. It's very easy to make an old library all of a sudden feel very, very sinister. Similarly, with the setting of Alba, she's in this family home, which can feel so beautiful and lovely, but once it starts to take a turn, its isolated setting can feel something like very, very different. Something else, aside from Minerva, I'm really liking Alba's story. The uncle situation is so unnerving, and I just feel like you gotta read it to know what I mean. I don't even really know what to say about it, except that I'm just like, but I'm gripped. Like, Silvia Moreno Garcia's writing in this has just like really pulled me in, and I think the 3 different storylines has helped to make you keep reading, because while there's clear parallels and connections, they also have like distinct elements that make each one feel unique and sinister in their own way. So there's always something to like enjoy while you're in whatever timeline you're in, and you sort of like miss it when you're pulled out, but then quickly entertained by something else. Obviously, again, we have Alba, creepy uncle, you know, various stuff happening in her town. We have Betty's story, and reading her recounting the disappearance of one of her closest friends in like a toxic sort of friend group situation. Very dark academia core in that way. And then we have Minerva, present day, researching and then having these like creepy things begin to happen to her, and then also like having to be around some of these like rich people. Minerva's character too, I think, is really interesting. She's an academic, but she's also flawed in the way that she is more of an isolated individual. When she's feeling stressed or deeply concentrating in something, she removes herself from a lot of the relationships she has, which you see her like think about, which obviously makes her an easier target perhaps for someone to take advantage of her, because anytime she's going through something, she like cuts people out of her life, and she's like alone, and I'm like, girl, have a friend stay the night with you. Like, creepy stuff is happening. Like, I don't have to do this alone. But I also really, really like her because she's super smart and capable and like cutthroat, a way that I like really respect. All that to say is I'm about halfway through the Bewitching right now. I think it's good. And I feel like the book is like interesting and entertaining from the get. So I'm curious to see how the mystery ultimately is going to wrap up and how satisfied I'll feel at the end. But I'm liking these characters. There's good intersection so far, but they're also standing alone in their own strength too, which I think is like really key for a story like this. And each character feels like a real tangible character, not like a walking theme or something like that. So I think that is also great. Also, last thing, I'm rambling. The time period for each of the stories or perspectives that we're following is like seeped into the story too. Like, it's adding like historical context, which is impacting the story, which I love. Like, from burning CDs to the fact that the Great Depression is happening. Like, I appreciate those details folded in as well, which is also just why I really like this author. She's just really good at writing entertaining stories. You know what I mean? Obviously. And I've finally gotten into Australian Survivor, which I fear is going to be my new like personality trait for the next few months. Good morning, everyone. It feels like a good time to go sit down and finish. I am really liking this book. I feel like the pacing of it has been non-stop. I've been super engaged with it the entire time. I was freaked out and like, what in the heck is going on? Like, even for the stuff I can guess, I'm still uneasy, you know? And then also though, the present day mysteries, I don't know what's happening. So that's the plan. Then we're gonna start my second book and then get back to fall decorating as well. Hi friends, I'm Laundered, and I'm also happy to report I have finished The Vanishing by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I'm so happy to say I really enjoyed this book. I felt like the coming together of all the storylines was really engaging. Even though I was able to guess maybe elements of the plot, the culmination, let's say, I did not anticipate, and I actually really liked the direction that Silvia Moreno Garcia decided to go in. It definitely won't be for everyone, but personally for me, I appreciated the intensity she decided to go with for this book. I also feel like the spooky elements, the horror, the haunting, the witches and supernatural creatures permeated the story really well to create this just like vibe of unease. Like you felt like you were on the edge of your seat, you were uncomfortable, like all the characters throughout this series were sort of experiencing some type of bewitching and haunting, and it was just, simply put, creepy and a fantastic fall read through and through. So obviously we have one book down, but we've got to move on to book 2 of this vlog, which is The Possession of Alba Diaz. There was an Alba in The Bewitching, and now we have an Alba again in Isabel Cañas' story, which we love. And I think we have another, some type of like possession, haunting sort of situation. This is even more historical than The Bewitching. This book has a storyline that takes place in the turn of the century. This goes all the way back to 1765, but I love both of these authors so much, so I'm really excited to jump into the next installment. I also need to decorate for fall in the TV room. I won't lie though, it's Saturday. I've been quite lazy, but I did finish a book and I did shower. So like, those are 2 big things knocked off the old to-do list, you know? Matilda and I hanging out. I'm gonna read some The Possession of Alba Diaz right now, and I'll keep y'all posted. I'm gonna get some pages in before I head out for the day. Hello, it's time to do living room fall decorating. Update, we finally hung art over the couch. It only took us 3 years, but I'm so happy it's finally done. And so now, I think they're a little too low, but I'll break that news to Clay in a little bit. But for now, relishing in the art. But let's decorate the TV room for fall so we can have the ultimate cozy watching later, you know? Starting with the couch area, now that we have art. I already lit a candle here. This area doesn't change much. I just have these 2 pumpkin pillows that I'm gonna place here. Next up, this credenza area. Very cozy. Alrighty, last up for this room is the TV area. I'm such a huge fan of these little battery operated flickering candles. Put them everywhere. Maybe like this. So cozy. Now this room is definitely giving more fall vibes. I know I've been decorating for fall a lot in this video, but I'm craving like a summer recipe, so I'm gonna make a chicken cutlet with like a nice bright side salad. So let's make it together. I am gonna put an episode of Gilmore Girls on though, on my little kitchen TV. Absolute game changer. Happy to have added this to my life.
We got massive amounts of junk. There must have been some back then to that kid.
Yes?
Are you crazy? Why are you mad?
And now he's forced to come over and sit with me and my mother and eat crap and watch a movie.
Well,
Mother, you inviting him over is like grandma.
I wasn't trying to humiliate you. No more are you trying to humiliate you.
I just don't feel like
How long to cook a chicken cutlet on each side?
From popculture.com, fry each chicken breast cutlet for 2 minutes on each side or until golden and cooked through.
It needs to be longer than that. And here's dinner, a little chicken cutlet, and I made a summer salad with fennel, cucumber, red onion, olive oil, Greek yogurt, and lots of feta. So yummy. Let's go watch Top Chef. Hi friends, I've done a rather terrible job of checking in. Clay and I got very distracted after dinner. We spent hours like planning. We're going to Seattle soon for the first time. Very exciting. And we were planning out our hiking plans because we're going up to one of the national parks. That took longer than either of us were expecting, but it's all sketched out now and we're so looking forward to it. But I'm gonna get back to The Possession of Alba Diaz. I started this book. I have not read much. I've only read a few chapters, but what I will say, those few chapters really, really, really intrigued me. I'm very curious to see like what this book is really going to like feature. But so far she seemingly is going to be interweaving elements of like maybe religious horror, religious expectations of the time period, alchemy. Love both of those topics though. So I'm gonna read more now and definitely catch up on reading tomorrow, and I'll keep y'all posted. Hello, let's do a reading update. I have started The Possession of Alba Diaz by Isabel Cañas, one of my most anticipated reads of the year. And great news, it has absolutely captured my attention so far. I've read 100 pages and I am hooked. Like, this is definitely gonna have like a horror, mystery, thriller element to it. And I have no idea where it's going, but I can see some of the threads, and what I've pieced together so far, I'm like, yes, you know? But to take a step back, this book is a dual POV story. It's set in the New World in 1735, I want to say. Our two main characters are first Alba. Alba is a young woman of a very wealthy merchant family. She was adopted as a baby by this very wealthy family, and she's always been very othered within this family. She's always been provided for, she's always been given like all, you know, the fancy clothes, but she's been more treated kind of like a doll to show off to the world on behalf of this family. She's also much darker in complexion, and so from a social caste point of view, even though she's wealthy and has powerful connections, she's not viewed very favorably and often not treated very well and not considered beautiful. At the beginning of the story, she's basically orchestrated behind her family's back an engagement to a man that she considers a friend that she grew up with. She basically has done everything that she possibly can to avoid the transactional aspect of like marriage and that like next step of her life, and kind of create a scenario where she views is the safest by marrying her friend, so not for love, but more of a marriage of convenience type of situation. As a result of this, at the beginning of the book, they go to her fiance, Carlos's like family's mine, which was previously flooded, but now it's starting to become quite lucrative again. He seems to have secrets, so does his family, more so surrounding debt. And he also brings his like priest friend who, but Alba as a main character I really like. I find that she's not only a character that's very intriguing, so far easy to root for, but obviously how she's operating within all of these different social realities rather complicated. And it has very much drawn me in so far. The other main character we follow is Elias, and he has just arrived in the New World from Spain on behalf of his family. He does not like his family. His father has recently passed away, and his grandfather basically like blackmailed him to go to the New World with Mercury to help the silver mine out because his family's in a lot of debt and his father's debts have now passed on to him. And he was also like in prison at some point in his life, and he's just like wanting to like run away from his family responsibilities and like start a new life for himself, but he finds himself here at this mine. He also runs to our main character Alba, and like let's just say the vibes just feel sinister. A lot of these rich people, their energy terrible, off-putting, slimy, if you will. The mine itself, spooky. Immediately you're like, what is happening in this mine? Because it seems to be tainted by likely the exploitation that these like rich Spaniards have done to this area. And I think that's gonna be like part of this possession and the horror that we're going to be reading. But so far the first 100 pages has intrigued me. It's dual POV also, which I like, and Isabel Cañas consistently employs in her book. So I feel like we're getting these two characters' POVs, their relationship with each other. That doesn't necessarily mean like romantic, but they have come into each other's lives, so like their interactions from each of their point of views I think is always very successful. But I read the first 100 pages quickly and I definitely want to read more. I'll tell you what, there are some creepy, slimy men in these first two books I have read. The uncle and the Bewitching, wild. A wild time. And I feel like we have more, maybe not of that exact flavor within this book, but we've got some more people to just be creeped out by. But so far, so excellent. A little Lunchable bowl for lunch today, obviously. Hello, I've changed into a new outfit. And maybe a better person. No, I have a reading update of The Possession of Alba Diaz by Isabel Cañas. I am hooked, line, and sinker obsessed with this book. It has pulled me in immediately. I love all the details. I wasn't really sure like how she was gonna approach this time period and this setting just from the synopsis alone, but reading the book, everything really makes sense. And I think the power dynamics and the cultural dynamics seem to be, from my point of view, working quite well. And I think adding to the ambiance and the horror like really, really successfully. Also, just having a main character who is possessed is so good. And I think having another perspective who can like witness this possession and like the stark change in being works really, really well, because we only have Alba's missing memory or like intrusive thoughts that she tries to ignore. But obviously she's not conscious when she is like being taken over actively by some type of demonic spirit. So those scenes are like really creepy and interesting. I'll say from a horror lens point of view, this book has really great ambiance, but I would say The Bewitching is like scarier. But the topics of this book are obviously quite freaky, but I'm more pulled in by like the mystery of it, as well as the character dynamics between our two leads. I don't know how this author is able to always pair a romance that I'm on the edge of my seat for in the midst of like a terrifying reality at hand. You know, like normally I'd read a book that has the types of plot elements like this, and I'd be like, y'all don't have time for romance, what is going on? But for some reason, in between like alchemic rituals to try to extract demons, I'm like, yes, you should be kissing right now. That is exactly what we should be doing with our time. So there's just such a great balance between romance, but also individual character growth and meaning, and then two characters also coming together and finding solace and pushing each other in like unexpected ways, which is our two leads, Elias and Alba. But then we also have the background of the drama. We have Alba's family drama, we have Alba's fiance drama, his family, super sketch, also connected to our other main character, Elias. Like, don't like them, don't know what's going on there. Alba's obviously dealing with a personal problem of being possessed. There's a priest character that I don't know how to read, but I really like his inclusion within the book. I also feel like it could lend an opportunity for some religious horror, but even if it's just like straight up religious exorcism situation, I feel like that would work quite well too. And then there's some additional side characters tied more to the local community of where this mine is and the history and the creepiness that has always been associated with this mine, but just kind of like not taken seriously by like the wealthy people that have owned it. And I think that is working really, really well too. I just think like the historical time period, the idea, and so far the execution has really pulled me in, and I just love the mix of things like I always do with this author. And I'm about 50% of the way through. I'm gonna read a chunk more tonight. The dual POV, I normally do not like to be in men's heads, like for the record, particularly when there's romance, but that is not the case with Isabel Cañas's books. It's always yearning, which is what we want. Yearning and desperation and horror. All great things, all entertaining elements within this book. So anyway, obviously I'm gonna read more tonight. I have a friend coming over, we're gonna make some pasta together. So I won't be reading more till later in the evening, but I'm definitely on track to finish this book by tomorrow. It's also such a fast read. Both of these books are so hard to put down, which again, perfect fall read, both in the vibes, but also like what they deliver. They're keeping you flipping the pages. My queen's just delivering perfect books, per usual. But yes, that's that. I'm literally dressed like a frat bro or like a 10-year-old boy, whatever. Anyway, I have a haul of something that I love. I bought 2 new fall puzzles and I wanted to show them off. First, we have this 1,000 piece mushroom puzzle. Look how stunning the design of this is. Wait to do this and listen to a mystery. And then I also got this 1,000 piece pumpkin patch puzzle. My friend did this recently. She said it was really hard, so wish me luck, but I also love the vibes and energy of this one. That's my haul. Pasta is made. Evening has ventured into very cozy territory. We're back on our anime watching game. This show called Freerun? I think that's how you say it. Watched the first episode and it was very vibey, very fantasy, which we love in this house. Alrighty friends, it's time to get scared and read in bed. If you're wondering, Matilda is also snuggled up and ready for sleep. There we go. Reading rainbow theme moment. Good morning. Cheers. This book is getting real good. I'm making some real progress in it. I'm definitely gonna finish in time to wrap up this book. 2 books read. I would say alongside like the obvious horror stuff, the haunting, the setting, this book is really also about agency and like personal choice and the pursuit of freedom beyond expectation that are like forced upon you from society, from family, from just like others. For obviously our main character Alba, she has spent her whole life trying to navigate within those very strict expectations of her family without upsetting anyone and working behind the scenes to try to manipulate them as best that she can, but never really being like an active force in her life. Now possessed by a demon, you know, new lease on life. Similarly, Elias, our other main character, has also been heavily constrained by his own family as well. So I think that is an interesting element like layered into all of this. You know, we have exorcisms happening, but also individual pursuits for freedom, which I support. Little brekkie before we finish my book. Hi guys, it's Reagan and welcome to the end of the vlog later in the day. But I'm so happy to report I have finished both books I set out to complete for this vlog. Both of them by 2 of my favorite authors. Both of them ended up being fantastic fall reads. So definitely consider adding these to your own fall TBR, especially if you want some books that are all about supporting women's wrongs in some capacity, like justified women's wrongs, but some crazy stuff happens in both of these stories and I was definitely here for it. But let's go ahead and wrap it up. So starting with the possession of Alba Diaz, I loved the ending of this book. The last 50 pages of this was a whirlwind. I had no idea where it was going, but I was along for the ride. I was supporting all the various decisions Alba was making, and I also appreciated how this book felt like a horror story. Like literally it is a book that is a horror story, but more like a horror story that's like been told through the ages. Like Alba has become this like figure. At the beginning of this book, she's sort of presented as an allegory, as a warning to not be sinful and these types of things. And I feel like the author referenced back to that really well and kind of created this full circle experience that I really, really appreciated. I liked the characters. I loved the gothic setting. I loved the religious aspect, the historical setting, like everything really, really worked for me. And I found it to be unbelievably entertaining, so highly recommend this. I'd give that like a 4.25 stars. Obviously, I also read The Bewitching by Sofia Moreno Garcia. Again, really only positive things to say about this. Another fantastic ending. Both of these books ended really, really well, where I was like, yes, this was so satisfying, which when it comes to like a horror thriller-esque novel, to me that's like very, very key. This had multiple storylines, which I thought was very, very effective. I loved all the different characters. I loved how the stories began to intersect, and for me it was quite spooky. And I'd probably also give this like a 4.25. 2 amazing fall reads that I'm so happy I picked up. I will be recommending these all fall. You should definitely check them out if you're curious about them, because they were so good. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I will see you soon with another one soon. Goodbye.